Hi, welcome to the Insurance Nexus live webinar on the future of connected claims. My name is Mitch Ween. I'm a Senior Vice President of Research and Consulting at Novarica, and I'm happy to be moderating this live webinar today. Novarica is a research and advisory company that works with insurers on technology and technology trends. We have relationships with over 300 CIO insurers and advisory relationships with over 100 carriers. We work with over 25% of the Fortune 500 insurers and work both on the life and annuity, P&C, reinsurers, and with MGAs and MGUs as well. So welcome. I hope you're going to enjoy this. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. So claims is standing on the brink of transformation as new technologies drive unprecedented business efficiency and superior customer experience. So how can carriers use this opportunity to create competitive advantage through exceptional customer service? As a lead up to our Connected Claims USA conference in June, Insurance Nexus would like to talk with a couple of experts, including the Chief Claims Officer at USAA and the Chief Customer Advocate at Esurance, to share a sneak peek of the most exciting two-day summit in the claims history and industry. This webinar will give you insights you need to improve operational efficiency and customer service and create a competitive advantage, including achieving seamless experience. So to hearing about the strategy and tools that Sean Burgess, the Chief Claims Officer at USAA, uses to exceed customer expectations, succeed in the age of the customer, getting exclusive insights from Eric Brandt, Chief Customer Advocate at Esurance, on how to drive a customer-obsessed culture to make the experience of buying, owning, and using insurance surprisingly painless, and most importantly, automatically turning data into action, discovering how to utilize advanced analytics and real-time data to dramatically improve customer experience and reduce cost. What I'd like to do first is introduce Sean Burgess, who's the Chief Claims Officer and an SVP of Claims Experience. Sean currently serves as a Senior Vice President, Chief Claims Officer for USAA. In this role, he is responsible for the claims experience for USAA in the US and internationally, and leads 6,700 employees who deliver on the promise to military families more than 6 million times per year. A 24-year veteran of USAA, Sean has held various leadership roles within property and casualty and across other parts of the company. Most recently, he served as Fulfillment Study Officer focused on opportunities to help USAA improve its member experiences. In this role, Sean led an enterprise-wide research effort to better understand how acquisition, servicing, and fulfillment processes can be delivered seamlessly to members across USAA. Some of his previous roles include Vice President, Property Claims and Shared Services, Assistant Vice President, Mid-Atlantic Region and Executive Director, Western Region. Sean has also worked in several locations during his career, including San Antonio, Detroit, Sacramento, Norfolk. Sean is a continuous learner, most recently completing the General Management program at Harvard University. Additionally, he has completed executive education programs at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business and University of Texas McCombs School of Business. He also holds the Chartered Property and Casualty Underwriter, CPCU, and Senior Claims Law Associate, SCLA designations. Outside of work, Sean enjoys many activities with his family, including golf, tennis, snow skiing, and listening to country music. His family are avid San Antonio Spurs fans and enjoy attending games. He and his wife, Lori, are high school sweethearts and have two daughters, Haley, who's 22, and Brooke, who's 18. Sean, I leave it up to you.
Well, thank you, Mitch. Appreciate that intro there, and it's I'm here today to talk, about what we can expect at the Connected Claims Conference. I'm very excited about, and just as you mentioned, right, the San Antonio Spurs, avid fans. I stayed up late last night watching them lose, but I'm all recovered now, so all good there. But we'll root for them in the future. Again, I thought I would just give a little bit of an overview of what I'll be talking about at the conference, but just to kind of make a fine point about USAA and the company that I have the privilege to work for. It's, as many of you know that have dialed in and have been in the industry for many years, that USAA is a very mission-driven company focused on serving military families across the world. And that's really at the heart of every decision that we make at USAA. And when you think about the connected experience and the mobility that is required to serve military families, even before a connected claim has become a reality, it's been in our DNA. And it's led to several, service awards for the company because there's such that affiliation with the USAA brand. But what I'll say is that the thing that keeps me up, one of the things is that even with that connected experience that USAA has demonstrated over time, the rapid change within the claim space is something that we have to keep up with, not only at USAA, but I would say as an industry, to make sure that we stay relevant to our customers, stay relevant to the digitally enabled world, and really treat every digital interaction better than the next one, because that's the expectations that are happening out in the world today, and that's what we have to do. And so what I'll be talking about, and one of the things that we're focused on at USAA, really focus on kind of three things that, again, I'll expand more on as we get into the conference that hopefully you all will be able to attend in Chicago. But there's three things. I'll just kind of give a high overview now, and then we can have a brief Q&A afterwards. But again, certainly much more detail coming up in the future. The first thing is, number one, is scaling empathy across digital channels. And I know that's something that everybody is struggling with in the industry. Is not only do you need digital adoption, right, but that has to be, the customer experience has to be exceeding what it is today. So what we talk about it here at USA, and what I am focused on is that scale of empathy across digital channels. So as an example, recent storms that we've had in the claim space, we could get up to 60 to 70% of all claims running through the digital channel. So you just think about how that changes the experience that the amazing adjusters do every day, right? Is now being changed, their interactions with digital experiences. So there's a couple of ways that we attack that around humanizing and scaling digital across the claim space. And one is, a question that I ask myself a lot, and I ask my team, is how easy are we making the lives of military families? That's the question that we have to answer. And I use a simple formula that, again, I'll dive into a little bit more as we lead up to the conference and have that discussion. But the formula is speed plus ease equals empathy. And with that simple formula, I can challenge myself and challenge the team is, are we creating the speed in the connected space that we need to in claims? How easy are we making the lives of military families? Back to that question. And then that drives empathy, right? That drives brand value. And it essentially, obviously at the end of the day, drives growth and revenue and all of those things that come with the business, but that's after the fact. But speed plus ease equals empathy is a simple formula that I probably say 20 times a day to my team to make sure that we're meeting that need. And then at the same time, right, in the digital space, as the example I just mentioned of, if you get 60% of your claims running through the digital channel, the key is you have to get those other 40% to the right person at the right time. And really the same formula applies, right? How fast are you taking care of me? How easy is it? How easy have you made my life? And ultimately that equals empathy for the members. So that's one focus area that we have. the second piece is training the skills of the future, right? And that's probably on everybody's agenda, whether it's in your top three, like it is for USAA and me personally within the claims team. It's somewhere, right? The skills of the future are changing, but that's, to me, that's a really close second to scaling empathy across digital channels. Because if you think about the type of adjuster that's going to be required in the future, there'll be many things that are the same, right? There's a skill set that's going to be needed. There's going to be many individuals, customers, members in our case, right, that are going to want to have their hand held through the claims process by one of our amazing adjusters. But the way data is captured, the way data is analyzed, the way a claim not only it comes in through the front door, but is processed through the whole value chain of the experience is going to be completely different. And those skills are going to be needed in the future. So again, another effort that it takes years, in my opinion, to make that happen. So you need to start now to make sure that you have the type of workforce that can digest the connected claims of the future. And by digested, I'm not only talking about creating the experience of the member or the customer, as I just talked about, but you have to balance the whole equation, right, of indemnity, loss expense, right, and obviously quality and compliance in the business that we're in. So that's a huge balance to make sure that we have those teams focused. So within talent and skills of the future, again, we kind of have 4 different work streams that I'll talk more about at the conference to really get us to a point where we can not only have a program, but have a program that we can clearly identify proficiency in the new skills of the future. Because again, probably everybody on this call talks about skills of the future. One of my challenges that I'm trying to overcome is how do we measure it, right? How do we not only put programs in place, but make sure that proficiency in these new skills is clearly demonstrated going forward. So that's the second piece. And then the third, kind of the 3-pronged approach that I was talking about around how we make sure we're ready is making sure that we are shaping disruption, right? And so, in other words, innovate for the future. So there's, again, every area, every company probably has different ways that they do that. But in this business that is in the middle of being disrupted, to me, what I talk about with my team and, again, hold myself accountable for is, are you shaping the disruption or are you being disrupted? So shaping the disruption is highly important. And I think USA has a legacy of doing that. But doing that with a mindset that is focused on serving military families. When you solve the problems of military families, what you find is that you're finding solutions in the industry. So a recent example, after the Fort Carson hailstorms of last year, I was meeting with the base commander, and his comment to me was, you need to get the claims settled for these men and women so they can become mission ready to serve this country. And I say that only to say that if you solve the problems of those military soldiers' claims being settled quickly, efficiently, accurately, so they can go back to serving their country, you're going to shape disruption in the process. But so there's multiple ways around that, and we've set up specialty teams and have, again, different work streams to make sure that we're shaping disruption that I'll share more about at the conference as we talk more in June. So that's kind of the overview that I'll give. So again, scaling empathy across digital channels, training talent and skills of the future, and really making sure that you have the proficiency to have the intake tools in the claim space to not only handle the connected claims, but be successful in the connected claims environment, and then shaping your own disruption are kind of the 3 key points that I'll focus on in Chicago. So with that, Mitch, I think I'll turn it back over to you, and we'll go from there.
Great. Thanks, Sean. I'd like now to introduce Eric Brandt. Eric is a managing director and chief customer advocate of Esurance. A little bit about Eric. He has more than 25 years experience in the insurance industry. Eric currently serves as a chief customer advocate for Esurance, where he leads the customer experience, including claims fulfillment. Prior to joining Esurance, Eric led customer-centered transformations in the areas of claims, risk management, and relationship management for carriers, offering personal lines, commercial lines, and employee benefits protection. Eric, I turn it over to you.
Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate that, and thank you, Sean. So pleased and proud to be with you all today. Good day, everyone. Thanks for taking time out of your day to have this conversation. Just a little bit more about me, because the chief customer advocate sometimes requires some explanation. I'm the chief claims officer for Esurance, which is the promise that we sell. And I'm also responsible for the overall customer experience for Esurance. And the way that shows up is through user experience research, user experience design, and digital product management that helps to turn prospects into customers and to help our existing customers succeed. So we try to bring the entire experience together in one modern and seamless and painless way. Sometimes we get that right. Other times we need to fail fast and make adjustments. We'll talk a little bit about that today. But first, I'll share that I have really one simple objective for today's discussion. And I'll start by making just one more comment that inspires me, and that is in 1991, I was hired as a claim rep trainee right from college. It was the first job that I ever had that came with a salary. Before that, it was manual labor, should I say. But I was really fortunate to be trained and encouraged by some amazing people. And I try to never forget that, never forget how important this work is to help people and to support each other while we're doing it. So my hope for today is that if you're early in your career, that you'll find some encouragement. If you have some experience in this industry, perhaps we can learn together through things we've tried, and that will be my hope for today. So as far as the agenda goes, I'll just pick out two items out of several that we'll be discussing at Connected Claims later on this summer. And surprise, we'll talk about our customers and we'll talk about our people. You can't go wrong with that. So let's start with our customers. Now, I try not to take myself too seriously. I hope that's okay with people on the call. I do have a shocking revelation to share with you all, so brace yourselves. What if I told you that customers don't actually love insurance? I know that's controversial, but in all seriousness, we know that this product is confusing, that customers don't understand it. Many of our customers are required to have it, at least some of the lines we sell, and it can be downright painful. And that's what we know and we believe in Esurance, that we come to this knowing that it can be a painful experience for our customers. But here's the good news. The good news is that we believe that customers can actually love their carrier. And that's the mission that we're on, to make this a more modern experience that helps people thrive, maybe even make this world a little bit safer if we do it right. So let's talk a little bit about how we approach that and my encouragement for us as we try to make this a better industry together. I'll make another controversial statement. I have a belief that companies who start with the winners, and that starts with design thinking. And true design thinking is starting with that customer experience in mind, that end in mind. And why that's controversial is because what I did not say is that companies who digitize everything will be the winners in the end. That is controversial. And while that may happen, you may not be here if you don't adapt and integrate your experience, your technology, and your people together before everything is digitized. And quite frankly, if you believe that all customers only want a digital experience, you may miss out on a whole block of people that need a personalized experience. This coming from, the digital company, the direct-to-consumer company, the head of digital products, right? So that's something that we've learned and that we know and that we believe. So the point here is that customer preference is considerably more fluid than what many have come to believe. It's not a black and white proposition. It isn't rigid. And to sell what you have as the customer preference can be a problem. But meeting customers where they are is true design thinking. This means that customers have a desire for options, access, information, and experiences at a time, manner, and place of their choosing. And there are two ways I describe customers. There are digital natives that have a digital preference, and you should meet those customers in that space. And there are customers who are analog, and you can evangelize them into a digital experience with compelling digital products that they actually want and need. One of the things we've learned is that customers will reveal their preference early in their relationship. Customers that buy from us digitally, surprise, they have an expectation for policy servicing, cross-selling, and fulfillment digitally. Customers that want an analog experience, customers that will flip to the phone channel as an example, you can get them to a digital channel. It is harder. It needs a more compelling value proposition. I'm going to tell a story real fast. And this is a story of a minor failure that we recovered from. So we had a strong belief that expanding digital first notice of loss would be a game changer for us. So we built an elegant solution. We'll have as many as 1 out of 3 customers report their claims online through various means, even more on certain days and certain times of day. And we believed that was going to be the path to incredible success for us. And what happened was that we ended up calling them 100% of the time. We saved nothing. We even lost a little bit if you count up the time they spent reporting their matter digitally and then us calling them back. It was one of those fast failures I learned a long time ago. When you fail like that, just use the word fascinating. That'll help make it sound a whole lot smarter when you make that mistake. But the mistake we made was starting with us. We wanted digital FNOL. We didn't start with the customer. So what the customers really want is they want to be paid or they want to be fixed. We're talking about material damage lines. They want that check or payment or EFT, or they want that appointment or schedule for a repair. So we integrated a guided photo claim experience into the digital first notice of loss to make the first notice of loss more like claim fulfillment and adjudication and less like information gathering. And that's been successful for us, and we'll be adding scheduling soon. So I hope that helps you. Let's talk about our people. I have another controversial statement here. What if I told you that you can actually pay your people more and reduce your loss adjustment expenses? I'm talking about paying them a lot more and reducing your LAE. That sounds benevolent to many, I'm sure, and it could be freaking some people out. What if I told you that you're going to have to pay your people more, a lot more, and you're also going to have to reduce your LAE? That's daunting. And it's the reality when you think about integrating technology into our workforce. And I'll tell you what we're learning and what we're seeing. It sounds daunting, but I'm inspired by that. I'm inspired by taking care of our people and our customers in a way that changes this industry. And at Esurance, we have an aspiration to deliver top-tier customer service at half the cost of traditional insurers. And we already This is publicly published information. We already have some of the lowest LAE amongst privately held companies, or public companies rather, that are published. So, so how we choose to integrate technology, we as an industry, or how you choose to integrate technology into your workforce will be key. That will be the game changer for you. So I'll just elaborate on that. What we've learned is when you deploy artificial intelligence or a bot or AI or a virtual assistant, whatever you want to refer to it as, when you deploy technology into your workforce, it is a workforce multiplier. It's a leverage multiplier, and we know that, and we're all on that journey together. What I'll share with you is when you automate, what is left is really hard. It's really hard. It has what I call a high cognitive load for our associates, for our employees. What's left over is hard. When you take away all the easy tasks, what's left is really, really challenging. It's even a high emotional load when you think about it, a high emotional load. When you take out all the fender benders or the garage door dings or the whatever the case may be for your line of business, the med bill processing and comp, whatever it may be, whatever's left over is very difficult and can be challenging for our associates. So my encouragement is that we can support our associates in their success by making our experiences more personal. As an example, kill that telephone call. I can't stand even looking at the desk phone that I have in my office. If I can't have a video telephone call, it's almost not even worth it. Showing your face, being personal, that drives empathy and connection, and that works for teams and one-on-one. Next thing I would say is top-down leadership is old power, and bottom-up innovation is new power. That's the second thing I would say, is unleash the collective strength of your employees to solve problems and get to the root cause. Individualism is being replaced by collaboration is the third thing I would say. And KPIs are being replaced by behaviors is another point I would make. So I'm going to wrap up here real fast, and I'll just say that to support our people in their success and pivot to what it is they really need means that we have to be active listeners, and that we have to agree on tools and methods that support our associates, our employees, to be there in those very, very difficult and perhaps even potentially emotional times. So that's it for me. I love talking about our customers and our people. I'd love to hear some questions from the group, Sean, and thank you, Mitch. Let's get into the conversation.
Great. Thank you, Eric. So again, I invite people to ask questions. We're going to try to work as many questions as we can into the dialogue. I want to open, Eric, for you a question. You mentioned the customer, and of course, with our research at Novarica, the customer always comes up as very, very important because it becomes the center of all digital transformation, this outside looking in view of the carrier and the services provided to that customer. The question, Eric, for you is, what challenges, both internal and external, have you encountered when building a customer-obsessed culture and process?
That's a great question, Mitch. Thanks to the person who asked it. And that's one of the items that we'll discuss at the future of connected claims. So cultural transformation, it's a journey that we're all on. I'll tell you one of the things that I've learned from some of the Bay Area, Silicon Valley companies. We don't have it all figured out by a long shot, but some of the things I talked about in terms of taking care of our employees touched on it. But there's one thing that I did hear from digital startups and also from companies that are disrupting themselves. Innovating at the core from the inside out can be done. It is hard. So if you work for a large firm and you expect to change the entire company in a big bang fashion, you have your work cut out for you. I think I've tried that, and I know that it's been very difficult. Innovation generally comes from the edges. Innovation can be inspired by a small work group with no budget and tight timelines in seemingly impossible circumstances. If you think about you and your career out there listening, your breakout and breakthroughs generally didn't happen on the day where you thought you had it all figured out. It generally happens in times of extreme circumstances. So I would encourage people to sponsor it if you're an executive, to be part of it if you're an individual contributor or a lead worker or a frontline leader. And this is a place where you can have fun. This is a place where you're going to find executives giving tremendous support for cultural change. So start small, spark that fire, show people the way, and you'll change the core. But don't wait for the core to change you. And that's a couple of things that I would just encourage people on.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, Eric, this is Sean too, and I think those are great insights. And the what you said in your conversation too about making a difference, right? Making a difference in the world. I think that's the key to innovation too, is that the innovators of your company know why they are doing what they do, right? And the end result may be something like LAE, indemnity, even service results, but the why makes a big difference, and that's what motivates people to make change, not necessarily a business result. So just thought I'd add that.
Great. Thanks, Sean. A question came in around empathy, and I know you work with the military a lot, so I thought this question would be pertinent for you. Should a formula for empathy also include satisfaction along with speed and ease? A process can be fast and easy, but yields an unsatisfactory result. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think that that's a great point. And to me, just my perspective on it is like this service and the customer experience is the non-negotiable, right? So to me, empathy is something that creates a world-class member experience. So if you want to have the, whatever award you want to talk about, whether it's JD Power or just whether it's your own internal measurements of how you're treating your customers, to me, empathy is a formula that has to make that happen. And from my perspective, and really what I'm hitting on is that empathy today at USAA, and I think probably across the industry, happens with the amazing employees like Eric was talking about, the employees that want to help people. People don't call on the claims teams because something good happened, right? They had a bad day, something went bump in the night, and so they call. So empathy is a key piece. The formula that I'm really was focusing on is, okay, as more and more of our claims go end-to-end digital, where the amazing adjusters that we have today are not interacting, like how do you recreate that empathy, right? So it's the speed and ease, and you could make an argument for other things to play in there. My thinking about just the speed and ease is really for simplicity and clear direction, so that the teams can run and make things happen at scale quickly. But certainly empathy is a factor in service. So the end result of that formula has to be world-class service. It's just recreating that adjuster experience in a digital world is what the focus is. And if you think about some of the things that you mentioned the military community, right? The reason why USAA was, the first bank to have a digital check deposit through a photo was because it solves a problem for the military, right? Because we're branchless, because it's we serve the military, and they are they move around a lot, as we know, right? Whether it's deployments or TDYs or just station changes. So that same philosophy around solving a problem for, military families that move around and don't have the time to focus on XYZ claim, or may start a claim in one area and be quickly deployed or moved to another one, is the same idea of solving that solution around speed and ease. So love the question. It's service is a huge impact, and ultimately it is in that value chain, but it's the speed and ease is just about recreating that empathy factor that leads to the excellent member experience.
Great. Thanks, Sean. Eric, we have a question for you. How does Esurance tackle the customer experience in a direct online writer scenario versus an agent-based model? Do you think about that when designing your processes?
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. That's a great question. Esurance exists to serve the customer who is brand conscious and they're self-directed. We're owned by a very successful parent that exists to serve customers that want a branded experience and they want local advice. So we serve different customers for different purposes, and we meet those customers where they are. One of the things that I touched on earlier about how we design our experience, and we start with the customer, and I'll just elaborate on that. We have a tremendous amount of business that we sell online, and we also recognize that the online experience can sometimes confuse a customer, despite your best intentions and how you kind of set that up based on previous learnings and research and so on. We've deployed a virtual assistant in the online sales channel to keep that customer in that channel of preference. So that's the evangelizing back into that digital channel if the customer feels the need to go to an analytic experience or a phone experience unnecessarily without their choosing. The same thing happens in policy servicing. We design an experience that allows customers to fulfill all of their kind of upkeep needs, whether it be paying bills, which is the primary, checking bills, paying bills, getting hypothetical quotes for changes in their life, whether it be drivers, vehicles, addresses. And we carry that forward into the claim fulfillment experience with live chat agents that help keep people in those digital channels. But if that customer wants advice, and they often do, particularly when it gets into claim fulfillment, that's where you have to make sure that you're routing that customer to the properly skilled associate. So we'll use analytics to ensure that we match up the customer's desire with the right skilled person. So there's a thing called channel switching, which can be pretty unsatisfying to a customer. Channel switching is when a customer is forced out of their channel of choice. And claim switching and kind of consultant switching is equally painful. So if you're serving up 1, 2, 3 people before the right answer gets delivered, that can be painful. So when you have to give that advice telephonically and help people solve a complicated problem, using analytics to get them to the right place the first time, and even queuing up some background for the associate about what the customer has been going through, that can be helpful as well. So I hope that answers the question. That's a great one.
Great, thank you for that. Kind of building on that, I want to, Sean, jump back to you. I know people speak raves about USAA. We've heard good things. What makes a customer love their insurance carrier? Is it ease of doing business, a culture of empathy, a look of the advertising, all of the above, something else? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Mitch. Loving your insurance company is a hard thing to do. I think I agree with what Eric said. Even liking insurance can be tough until you actually have to use it. So I think what I would say is it's every interaction that you have with the brand that really leads to the affinity, right? And whether it's like, love, I'm going to stay with you, I'm going to be a member for life, as you see in our TV commercials, whatever it may be, right? It's that interaction that starts early on, before you maybe even need insurance, where you start to build that brand. So I will say I love our marketing department. They do great work, but it's not the marketing. And it certainly isn't the claims experience. That may just reinforce it, right? But the brand affinity comes through how you treat somebody from their very first interaction. And so the way we see that at USAA is obviously, serving the military as you are initially going through the process of becoming a member of the military. That's when we start interacting with you at a kind of close one-to-one level as best we can. If you are an associate or a family member of the military, you have a member number as soon as you're born, and we start communicating in some ways, through your parents. And so I say all that to say that it doesn't happen overnight. It's a huge challenge and opportunity to build a brand and to build affinity. And it's even a harder challenge to keep it, right? Because I think it's what we'll talk about in the Connected Claims conference, and it's what's relevant in the claims business is years and years, if not decades, of affiliation and loyalty can be crushed in a matter of minutes or hours or days when the claims experience comes in. And so we take that very seriously, and I know people on this call do. That's why you're in this business, is to help people. But it's also a great rallying cry and burning platform that I have personally and use with my team about the brand that USAA brings to the table, not just in the insurance space, but whether it's, banking, investments, and other spaces, and, just the loyalty that is created that we have to uphold within the claims department. But to answer your question, Mitch, I'm getting to the short answer is it starts with every interaction, and it starts early and then can be reinforced through things like the claims experience and other aspects. I will say that dynamics are changing rapidly. I know Eric talked about using data and analytics, and he's going to get more into that at the conference, but knowing your customer, in our case, knowing our members better than anybody else, and not only having that data, but utilizing it in a way that is genuine and well received is a huge challenge, right? That is a huge challenge. I mean, and it's not a data volume problem, right? But it's a data understanding and utilization issue, right? Because I think everybody's found a way to gather data. Now the real winners in the industry, which will then, drive brand affinity, are going to be the people that use it best. And that's an ongoing challenge for us every single day as we serve military families. So that's how I'd answer that, Mitch.
Great. Thanks, Sean. One of the things that you kind of brought up was the experience. And of course, omni-channel is a real big deal. At Novarica, we've published something called the New Normal, which are basically capabilities people now expect to be available. And omni-channel for claims is one of those. Eric, shifting to you, when a claim gets personal and high magnitude, for example, somebody's home is damaged, do you see people still stay digital as their preferred channel experience, or do they shift back to analog phone calls to emphasize the urgency?
Thanks, Mitch. That is a great question. And oftentimes we talk about high frequency, low complexity, but these matters get complicated quickly. And if you insure highly protected risks in the commercial property space, or you insure people's homes, the stakes are high, right? So, and that's complicated, and customers, need consultation. There is technology that can and should be deployed, that it's common. I'll tell you that there's an incredible amount of success being achieved with aerial imagery, with drones, and that technology is being more widely adopted and more generally accepted by both commercial and retail consumers. So just because it's a significant loss doesn't mean you can't combine technology with good deal of empathy and expert advice. Another great, so I would encourage you to explore that, those on the call if you haven't already. And again, it's how you choose it and how you integrate it into your environment that will make the difference for your clients and customers. Also, one of the things we've learned is that video collaboration is a powerful tool. The insurance industry is adopting, widely accepted technologies and being able to collaborate with customers live, close to the moment, can help not only with easing customer fears and concerns, but also understanding the expertise that you need to bring to bear. But in these significant scenarios, kind of combining, this is what makes your employee more superhuman. And in the future, I'll share, one prediction is that every employee, they may have their own bot, or they may have their own robotic digital assistant. It's happening today in other domains, and it will happen in our industry, and it's happening on the edges. So just integrating that technology into the experience, that's actually what makes our employees super successful. So yeah, a great question. Incredible times, to be blunt. It is important even in the more complicated matters, both personal and commercial. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that, Eric. Obviously some people may not want to interact with carriers in a digital way. We have various generational cohorts that are consuming insurance services, everybody from the greatest generation on down to Gen Z, millennials, and baby boomers. Sean, a question for you. For the 30 to 50% that do not want to meet USAA in a digital way and want to still submit claims or files in a traditional manner, how has USAA had success in internally automating to serve clients better?
Yeah, it's a great point because about the generational challenge, and you get to be, one of the things we've learned over time is be very careful not to box people into some certain type of behavior. So as an example, and I'll date myself here, but we already talked about how long I've been in the industry. When we first put USAA claims out on .com, so not mobile, but on .com, there was certainly a belief at the time that would be for, the, low complexity, high frequency claims that Eric talked about. Essentially, it wouldn't be your more significant claims. And then the second claim that we had reported on USA.com was a fatality in an auto accident. And that moment has stuck with me because that just wasn't the anticipation, right, that we had for when we put .com out there, was that it would have that type of significant emotional and heavily involved loss that would be created that way. But what that taught me, and what's again has stuck with me, is that you have to have the digital processes and the digital experience for anybody who wants it, and you have to be able to get the individuals to the right person when they want to talk to somebody, right? And in many cases, that's proactive on our part, not just phone routing, right? It's knowing when to reach out, who to reach out, and what that conversation should be like. So what that has led to get to your question about internal is, you have to spend as much time on the external experience as you do internally. So there's a phrase that we use and talk a lot about here at USAA, that the member experience can be no greater than the employee experience. So while we're a member-driven company and the members are clearly first to us, the experience of our employees has to be right along with it, right? So no greater than the member experience. So there's a couple things that, I think that technology has allowed us to do to really help with that. And one is, the challenge that we've had for many, many years in the claims business about segmentation and workload distribution. So internally, to using the same type of technology, right, that we are creating for a connected claims experience, has allowed us to, create workload distribution models and using, technology to distribute it and monitor that better. Now, by no means do we have that figured out, by no means, right? But it is a way that you can help create the experience for the employee where I'm completely aligned with what Eric said, that when you take the easy claims away, if there is such thing as an easy claim, you take those away, then the work becomes more challenging, right? That the workforce has to focus on. So segmenting that down to however your individual company wants to do that, whether that's by, type of claim, type of injury, type of jurisdiction, photo versus a desk review, all those things, right, they go into play. So we've really been focusing on slicing that the best we can and then distributing that work so that the employee can have a more consistent experience, understand what's coming through either the phone or the digital panel, and able to help the member. So I think that's one piece. And then I think the still to be determined part, and what is really that's going to evolve over the next couple of years, and it's kind of what I'll focus on around the talent of the future, is how do you take all of the data points together and then aggregate them into a single view for employees. So it's happening somewhat today, but certainly not mature. But in the future, right, you're going to get data and information from, let's say, a 2-vehicle accident where liability can already be decided for you, right? Just through the data combination. So before the adjuster ever sees it, you've got somewhat of a liability decision that's already been made. And so that's where the challenge is going to be, Mitch, to make that experience seamless for the employee, because if it's not for the employee, it's not seamless for the employee, the member's going to feel that in one way or another. So those are a couple of the things that we're focusing on around that space.
Great. Thank you so much. You've mentioned a lot of technologies, and of course at Novarica, we've written extensively about the use of drones, IoT, big data technologies, predictive analytics, and other things around adjudicating and processing claims. Eric, quick question for you. What is or can your organization be doing now or in the future about leveraging connected technologies, sensors, etc., to shift from a claims processor to a risk preventer?
Mitch, that's a great question. I'm glad that got asked, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it more at the future of connected claims. One of the things that we've learned is, in the excitement and the fervor around Internet of Things and sensors, we had a belief and an opinion that customers would adopt it. Because we're insurance experts and evangelists, but like I said earlier, shocker, customers don't often think that way. Customers don't often think they're going to have a loss. So one of the things that we've learned is that ease of doing business and ease of use, customer ease, and integrating into customer expectations and preferences is key and critical. And we're trying to get out of the loss adjudication business and into the loss prevention business. Commercial lines are way ahead of personal lines in that way. Commercial lines tend to have a more sophisticated client, a client that recognizes the value in sensors that can help you understand the physical load that is on a workforce to avoid low back injury, or sensors that are embedded in commercial properties understand if they're at risk for a frozen or burst pipe. In the consumer space, very challenging and very difficult. The vehicle manufacturers, or OEs, as we've said, have been highly challenged in terms of integrating with. So one of the things that we've done at Esurance, and many carriers are going down this road, so my encouragement is to keep on going there, is using devices that customers want and need and insist upon. The mobile phone, the mobile app, it's getting incredibly sophisticated. And the information that you can get with regard to crash detection and understanding if you've got a driver or a passenger, tapping into that is incredibly important. At Esurance, we have a wholly owned subsidiary sister company that develops technology in a white label fashion, and we adopt it, and others in the industry do as well. But I would say that the mobile phone and the app is a lot more powerful than just geolocation. Once you unlock crash detection, then you can start to activate all kinds of service delivery and loss mitigation. And you can even, and I said earlier, we're on a mission to even make this world a safe place by giving our customers not just a promise to pay, but access to information that can help them be safer. Think about that. This insurance business hasn't changed in decades. That ISO policy form, which has been rewritten, essentially is that policy form. There's some companies that are bucking against that, and I applaud that, and we should too. But that the biggest innovation we've seen is that thing going online, and that's not an innovation. But selling a promise to pay. Think about it. Our clients have paid for great claim service before they've even had it, which is reflected in the loss adjustment expense ratio of all of our firms. Giving customers access to information that can prevent a loss is where the future is for us as claim professionals. And we have an obligation to feed that back to product and underwriting to help make this cycle of improvement real and relevant for our customers. So yeah, exciting times for sure, but thinking about customer adoption is key. And I'd love to talk more about homeowners and sensors. There's an explosion of sensors in the homeowner space through IoT that I think you touched on that perhaps we can get into later on at the conference, but great question.
Great. Well, we're kind of running short of time. I wanted to thank both Sean and Eric for their participation. Of course, this webinar is a sneak peek of the world's largest claims executive summit, the Connected Claims USA Summit, which will be taking place on the 5th and 6th of June in Chicago. They will be bringing together over 1,000 senior claims executives, insurance innovators, and technology experts. The summit will set a bar for future of claims and ensure that we deliver an unforgettable customer experience, no matter the channel or the complexity of the claim. Sean Burgess and Eric Brandt are our keynote speakers, and they will be joined by other claims leaders, including Ken Rosen, Executive Vice President, Chief Claims Officer at Allstate Insurance, Ian Thompson, Group Chief Claims Officer at Zurich, Frank Carney, Senior Vice President and Head of Auto Claims at Farmers Insurance, Alex Pusalin, Vice President and Head of Global P&C Claims Assurance, and Lori Pierman, Vice President, Claims Operation, Amerisure Insurance, and many more, including myself. So we're looking forward to seeing you in Chicago in June. And we have a link posted for the speaker lineup and conference agenda, so feel free to check out the website. We want to thank you for listening in to the webinar today. We want to thank you for the questions. We didn't get to them all, but we appreciate them all. And we hope you have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it. Thanks, Eric.